The towering facade of the luxurious Trump International Hotel gleamed in the afternoon sun, casting long shadows across New York City's bustling streets. The hotel, with its signature opulence and immaculate service, was a cornerstone of Donald Trump's empire. Today, however, Trump decided to forego his usual fanfare and entourage, choosing instead to visit incognito. Draped in a nondescript navy coat and a baseball cap pulled low, he stepped out of an unmarked car. "I want to see how things really run when they don't know I'm watching," he murmured to his driver, nodding toward the entrance. As he approached the grand doors, the hum of the city faded, replaced by the sharp, grating voice of Richard, the hotel's manager. Trump paused, his sharp instincts attuned to tension. "You're an eyesore," Richard barked at a disheveled man sitting quietly on the stone steps leading to the hotel. "This is private property, not a shelter. Leave, or I'll have security throw you out." The man, clad in a tattered army jacket, his face weathered and lined with hardship, looked up. He met Richard's disdain with calm dignity. "I'm not causing any trouble, sir. I just needed a place to rest for a moment." Richard sneered. "Rest somewhere else. You're making the hotel look bad." Trump's jaw tightened as he watched the exchange. Something about the homeless man's demeanor struck a chord. His composed response, the faint glimmer of pride that even Richard's venom couldn't extinguish. Before security could be summoned, Trump stepped forward, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, his tone authoritative but measured. Richard turned, startled. Not recognizing Trump immediately, he assumed it was a concerned guest. "Nothing to worry about, sir. Just removing an unwelcome presence." Trump's gaze flickered to the man on the steps. "He doesn't seem to be bothering anyone. What's your name?" he asked, addressing the homeless man directly. "Michael," the man replied cautiously. "I'm sorry if I've caused any inconvenience. I'll leave." "No, you won't." Trump's tone was firm but kind. He turned to Richard, who was beginning to realize who he was speaking to. "This is how you treat people? What if he were a guest? Or is basic human decency not a prerequisite for your job?" Richard stammered, his face reddening. "Mr. Trump, I didn't realize—" "Save it," Trump interrupted, his gaze icy. "Michael, come inside. Let's talk." Michael hesitated, his pride warring with his exhaustion. Finally, he nodded, his shoulders slumping with a mixture of relief and trepidation. As they entered the opulent lobby, the contrast was stark. Crystal chandeliers bathed the marble floors in golden light, and staff bustled about, their polished uniforms pristine. Guests cast curious glances as Trump led Michael to a quiet corner of the hotel restaurant. "Order anything you like," Trump said, waving off the waiter's wide-eyed expression. "And take your time." Michael's hands trembled slightly as he picked up the menu. The smell of food, a warm, inviting aroma of freshly baked bread and roasted meats, made his stomach ache with hunger. After a moment, he set the menu down, too overwhelmed to choose. "I don't know what to say," Michael murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you doing this?" Trump leaned forward, his expression softening. "Because everyone deserves to be treated with respect. You've been through something, haven't you? Tell me your story." Michael hesitated, but something about Trump's steady gaze encouraged him to speak. "I served in the Army for 10 years. After I came back, things fell apart. I couldn't find work, and the bills piled up. Medical bills mostly. PTSD doesn't show on the outside, but it eats you alive. Eventually, I lost my home." Trump listened intently, nodding occasionally. Michael's voice grew steadier as he recounted his journey, the weight of his struggles evident in every word. "I didn't mean to end up like this," Michael concluded, his eyes cast downward. "I just ran out of options." Trump sat back, his mind racing. The man before him wasn't a statistic or a problem to be swept aside. He was a veteran who had served his country and fallen through the cracks. "This shouldn't have happened to you," Trump said finally, "and I'm going to fix it." Michael blinked, startled. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Trump interrupted. "It's what you've earned. And it's what's right." Unbeknownst to them, Richard stood at the edge of the lobby, watching the scene unfold with a mixture of disbelief and scorn. As Michael began to eat, Trump's resolve hardened. Tomorrow, there would be changes. No one, he decided, would walk into one of his hotels and feel less than human ever again. The next morning, the dining room of the Trump International Hotel was abuzz. Whispers of the mysterious man dining with Trump the previous night had spread among staff and guests alike. In his penthouse suite, Donald Trump sat with Michael, who looked more composed after a night of rest in one of the hotel's lavish guest rooms. "I want to hear more about your time in the military," Trump said, leaning forward. His tone was free of the bluster often associated with his public persona. Instead, it was curious, even empathetic. Michael hesitated, sipping the steaming coffee before him. "It's not an easy story to tell," he admitted. Trump gestured for him to continue. "Take your time." Michael nodded, eyes growing distant as he began. "I enlisted when I was 21. It was after 9/11. Felt like the right thing to do. Spent most of my time overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan." He recounted missions that required nerve and precision, the camaraderie among soldiers, and the searing losses they endured. But the tone shifted when he described his return. "When I got back, it was like the world had moved on without me. My body was here, but my mind was still over there. The nightmares started, flashes of things I couldn't unsee." Trump frowned. "Did you get help? VA services?" Michael scoffed lightly. "The VA tried, but it's a broken system. Long wait lists, underfunded programs. By the time they got to me, I'd lost my job, my home, everything." Trump sat in silence, absorbing Michael's words. "I worked odd jobs where I could," Michael continued. "Construction, security gigs. But the PTSD made it hard to hold anything down. I'd miss shifts or get overwhelmed. Eventually, I stopped trying." The weight of his words hung in the air. Trump finally spoke, his voice firm. "You're not invisible, Michael. And you're not forgotten. Veterans like you deserve more." Before Michael could respond, the door opened and Ivanka Trump stepped in. She paused, taking in the scene, her expression softening when she saw Michael. "Dad, the team is ready for the meeting," she said. Trump nodded but stayed seated. "We'll be there in a minute. Ivanka, this is Michael. He's going to be staying here for a while." Ivanka smiled warmly. "It's nice to meet you, Michael. Thank you for your service." Michael, taken aback by her sincerity, nodded. "Thank you." As Ivanka left, Trump turned back to Michael. "Come with me. I think you'll find this interesting." In the grand ballroom, Trump had gathered the hotel's senior staff, including Richard. The manager stood stiffly near the front, his usual air of superiority muted by the tension in the room. "Before we get started," Trump began, "I want to introduce someone." He gestured to Michael, who hesitated but stepped forward. "This is Michael," Trump said. "He's a veteran who served our country with honor. Yesterday, he was treated with disrespect outside this very hotel. That won't happen again. Not here. Not anywhere I own." Richard shifted uncomfortably, a faint sneer tugging at his lips. Trump continued, his tone sharp. "I expect every employee under my roof to treat everyone, guests, staff, and even those who walk past, with dignity. If that's a problem for anyone, they can leave now." No one moved. Michael's presence and Trump's words were met with quiet murmurs among the staff. Most appeared thoughtful, even moved, but Richard remained stiff and silent. After the meeting, Trump pulled Michael aside. "There's more I want to do for you, but I need your help." Michael raised an eyebrow. "My help?" Trump nodded. "I want you to work here, just temporarily, to get you back on your feet. You'd be part of the groundskeeping team." Michael hesitated. "I don't want to take handouts." "This isn't a handout," Trump said firmly. "It's an opportunity, and if anyone deserves it, it's you." After a long pause, Michael nodded. "All right, I'll give it a shot." Michael's first week on the job was challenging but rewarding. The work was physically demanding, but it gave him a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. The groundskeeping team quickly warmed to him, impressed by his humility and work ethic. But not everyone was supportive. Richard, still fuming from his reprimand, watched Michael's every move with a critical eye. He muttered under his breath to anyone who would listen, deriding Trump's decision to hire a vagrant. One afternoon, as Michael swept leaves near the fountain, Richard approached him, his smirk cold and condescending. "Enjoying your charity case?" Richard sneered. Michael looked up, his expression calm but firm. "I'm here to work, same as you." Richard laughed. "Work? Let's not pretend you belong here. This place is for professionals, not what?" The voice behind them was sharp, commanding. Trump had arrived unnoticed, his gaze locked on Richard. "Mr. Trump," Richard stammered, "I was just—" "Enough," Trump interrupted. "I've seen and heard enough from you." Turning to the small crowd of employees that had gathered, Trump raised his voice. "This is a man who served our country, who deserves respect. If anyone has an issue with that, they can leave. Richard, that includes you." Richard's face turned crimson. "You're firing me?" "I am," Trump said flatly. "Your behavior is unacceptable and has no place here." As security escorted Richard out, a murmur of approval rippled through the staff. Trump turned to Michael. "You deserve better than people like him, and so does this hotel." Weeks turned into months, and Michael flourished in his new role. He took pride in his work, often arriving early and staying late. Guests and staff alike noticed his transformation. One day, as Michael trimmed hedges near the entrance, a family stopped to thank him. "You're the veteran Mr. Trump helped, right?" the father asked. Michael nodded, a little embarrassed. "Well, thank you for your service," the man said, shaking his hand. "It's people like you who make this country great." Michael smiled, a warmth spreading through him. That evening, Trump returned to the hotel. As he walked through the lobby, he spotted Michael speaking with a guest, his posture confident and his face alight with purpose. "You've done good work here," Trump said when they finally spoke. "Thank you," Michael replied. "I feel like I have a purpose again." Trump nodded. "I'm glad, but I'm not done yet." Michael raised an eyebrow. "I've connected you with a nonprofit that helps veterans reintegrate into society," Trump explained. "They'll help with housing, therapy, everything you need to move forward." Michael was speechless. "This isn't just about you," Trump continued. "It's about setting an example for others, showing what's possible when people get a second chance." As Michael processed the news, the hotel staff gathered in the ballroom for a meeting. At Trump's insistence, Michael shared his story, his voice steady and strong. "I've been through a lot," he said, "but this place gave me hope. Mr. Trump gave me hope. And if I can do anything to repay that, it's to remind all of you to treat everyone with kindness." The room erupted in applause. For the first time in years, Michael felt truly at home, not just in the hotel, but in himself. His journey wasn't over, but with support, he was ready to face whatever came next. And Donald Trump, watching from the sidelines, felt a rare sense of pride, not in his empire, but in the simple, profound impact of doing what was right. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of resilience, accountability, and renewal. Michael's story reminds us that even in the face of hardship, there is hope for a brighter future when dignity and kindness prevail. It's a testament to the power of second chances and the importance of treating everyone with respect, no matter their circumstances. If you've been inspired by this story, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another inspiring tale. And let us know where you're listening from. We're always excited to connect with our global community. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay strong, and remember, a single act of kindness can change everything.